poppin'? Brand new whip just hopped in. I got options. Spend a whole holiday locked in. Just joshing. My body got rid of them toxins. What it do, what it do, how it be, how it be. Good morning, good morning. Bob Furman tied too after watching that patron video. It's fun. It's fun to like whack things with a stick. Whack, whack, whack. Your official first reward. What are you talking about? You didn't get no first reward. Crazy Killer was first. I can see it by scrolling on back. Bonking is the superior gameplay style. Yeah, that's true. Bonk, 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 bonk. Any game that lets you like bonk things or shoot things, you always choose bonking. Bonk. Yeah, I can go all the way back to the beginning, Phoebes. And Crazy Killer said hi. Crazy Killer said hi. He beat you yet again. He's the new Canadian Führer, man. Canadian Führer used to be on the ball every day, no matter what. First. He's fallen off, though. Guten Tag to everybody. Gut Morgen. Guten Aflochenschlägen. That's afternoon, right? Aflochenschlägen. I'm pretty sure. Guten Aflochenschlägen. No. Correct me. I'm not here to be corrected by you. Don't know how people are always so early. I've literally never gotten a notification. Fucking, you gotta hit the bell, bro. You know how all these other dorks are always telling you, like, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. You know what I mean? Like, that's why. You gotta hit the bell. Ding, 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 ding. You gotta ding it like 3 times to make sure that YouTube knows. You gotta ding, 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 ding. Just the way it works. I don't know what to tell you. Notifications come super late a lot of the time. Yeah, they do. It's so stupid. The bell is annoying as fuck. I'm subscribed to too many people. My phone would never shut up. Unsubscribe from everybody but me and only turn the bell on. Problem solved. And DFF, of course. Of course. We need an email list. Oh, yeah, dude. A newsletter. Let's take it back to 94. Unsubscribed from a lot of trash YouTubers today that I never should have subscribed to in the first place. out of touch rich kids are exhausting. Dun 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 dun. I know who that's a dig at. I know who that's a dig at. Milo is setting up a gay conversion business now. As a gay man, I can think of some good uses for ropes and wooden crosses. Dude, Milo is going to get himself into trouble with this. You just watch. Like, Milo is grifting real hard, and when you grift that hard, you're bound to stir up some fucking drama, and he's grifting so hard now. The dude is... I can't imagine. Like, I'm really glad that I'm a guy that either, you know, you like or you don't, but you look back over the body of my work and you see the same message coming out of it. You know what I mean? My mind might have changed here and there about small parts of my political philosophy and personal philosophy, but I'm pretty much saying the same shit that I was saying 10 years ago on my channel. Being like one of these people that like drift from grift to grift, that shit has got a fucking... I can't even imagine that, because it's like every time you start a new grift, you're slamming a door behind yourself. So it's like Milo Yiannopoulos started out as like a leftist, and then he saw the red wave happening, and he correctly presumed that this red wave would love a flamboyant gay conservative, and so he hopped on that grift. And then, you know, because of his appearances on the Joe Rogan show and DP, he lost that grift at the height of it. I mean, that's like a tragedy. You have to understand, like, Milo was set to launch to the fucking moon. People don't understand this. He was about to be the keynote speaker at CPAC. Milo was about to be the center of the conservative universe. He was about to have the keys handed to him. He was that close. No, I didn't take him down. He took himself down hard, too. And then that grift dried up. Like, after that shit, nobody took him seriously. He got deplatformed from a lot of places that didn't want to hear his bullshit anymore. And he tried to just ride this, like, I'm a pissed off gay conservative grift. And it just shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And nobody was talking about Milo. And so he had to do something. And he's like, what within... Because I've already locked myself into this conservative grift, obviously. So what within that grift can I do to get some more fucking attention on me? I know. I'll say I'm no longer gay. It's like... Jeez Louise, bro. I'll say I'm no longer gay and that I can help you to be no longer gay. Did they call DP alt-right? They did. They called DP an obscure alt-right podcast. You can respect people who are open about their grifting? Really? Hi, I'm a grifter. Like, why does that change anything for you? I'm on hold with my work line. Have been on hold 45 minutes. Even employees have to wait on hold forever. Gotta love it, man. Gotta love it. You talked about the one time in the car when you were 16 when you stood up to your dad about beating you if he still could. Was there any other times you recall you stood up to him? I mean, yeah, me and my dad always butted heads. Like, after I was an adult, there was like this constant back and forth of meanness between the two of us. And it was really him that led the charge because nothing that I did was ever good enough. Like I remember I purchased my first house. That wasn't a house, it was a condo, but I owned my first piece of property at 21 years old, which a lot of people would say like that's an accomplishment for a young person to save their money and to get their credit score to the point where they could afford to buy a house on a fucking, normal ass Starbucks job. I wasn't making money anywhere else. And I remember I had that house for 2 years, or that condo for 2 years. And then my dad came and visited me. And it wasn't like I was expecting him to be like, so you got a mortgage? Yes. It wasn't like I was expecting him to be like, hey, dad, or hey, son, I'm real proud of you for buying this house. But he showed up at my house and came in and started telling me about how, like, I was about to turn 25. I was like 23 or something. He was like, they say that if you don't know where you're going by the age of 25, that you're going nowhere. I was like, what does that even mean? What are you talking about? He's like, I mean, you just, you're going to work at Starbucks your whole life or whatever. And it was just like, what? I'm fucking 23. Sounds like jealousy. I don't know what it was. He was just like, we'd get into arguments and fights about his fucking shit like that. We'd get into arguments about just stupid shit. I don't know how to put it. And then the last time that I quote unquote stood up to my dad was when I got divorced, and he, a divorced man, decided to fucking, like, I don't know, he just shat all over me on the worst day of my life. It's like, what? Like, aren't you my parent? So that was it. I wrote him this letter that, like, if I could read it to you guys, it's a fucking, like, if you guys like the way that I can tear things down, it is a definite don't ever fucking contact me ever again letter. I blew him up. In this fucking email that I sent him, I blew him up. I literally blew him up. I go back and read it every once in a while just to remind myself. And that was it. I have not heard from him since then. And that was what the letter was designed to do. Do you think he misses you? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if he does. But I doubt it. If he did, he's a grown-ass man and could have reached out to me fucking years ago. He's just decided that his pride was hurt too much by what I told him about himself. I don't know if I'd be willing or open to reconnect, but I'd be willing to talk. But he would have to facilitate it. Like, I am done fucking being the person to reach out. And I'm done being like, I'm the child in the relationship and he's the fucking adult. And that's that. Oh, there's no way I'm reading that to you guys. There's no fucking way. Trust me, that it is literally laced with shit that is grade A, the type of shit you don't share with the internet. Like I said, I blew him up from the beginning to the end. Everything he ever did as a father that was shitty got put in that fucking email. And then a fuck you, don't call me, don't talk to me. Zoop. There's no way that's getting read. Yeah, my mom's still around, and I still have a good relationship with my mom. Cut my parents off in August when I moved. They were both manipulative and abusive my entire life. My dad molested me, and my mom covered it up 21 years. Well, good on you. I'm sorry to hear that, but good on you for escaping that. That's one of the hardest things that a lot of people will have to do in their lives is decide that somebody that they love and that is close to them is toxic or something, and that they have to cut them out of their lives. It's one of the hardest things you can do. But I'm telling you, man, if you have somebody in your life and you feel worse about yourself every time you fucking interact with them, kick that fucking person out of your life. What do you need that person for? And to be honest with you, that's what my father was. He was a dude that 9 times out of 10, when I would see him, which was rare, he and I were pretty fucking distant before I cut him off. But 9 times out of 10, when I would make the effort to see the fucking guy, he'd tear me down. I'd end up feeling like shit after I talked to him. What value was he adding to my life at that point? Happens with friends too, of course, yeah. I mean, I when I got a divorce, I had to completely and utterly reorganize my life. And there was a lot of friends that I found out weren't really all that good of friends to me. And you know, I was lucky. I had a couple of friends, a few friends that stood by me through it, but most of my friends fucking, you know, yeah, the hardest that when you're at your lowest, you get to see how people are. And for me, being at my lowest didn't mean that I needed money. It didn't mean that I needed shelter. It all it literally meant was that I needed somebody to hear me and understand me and like listen to my side of the fucking story and listen to what I'd gone through in the marriage and listen to how things were there in that marriage and how I had to get out of it. So very few of the people that called me their friend were willing to do that or interested in doing that at all. And I don't have space in my life for those fucking people. Sorry. I dropped my best friend for being a deadbeat dad. His son is so cool. How could he just dip on him? Yeah, I mean, fuck. You gotta understand. Like, one of the most important things that you can do in your life is prune it of rotten branches and shit. And I'm very selective about when and how I see people and who I see and who I talk to for this very reason, because I used to be the opposite. I used to be the other way. I used to be the guy that was buddies with everybody and let everybody in and was there to help everybody when they needed it and there to be the understanding guy and there to be the helpful guy and blah, 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 blah. A people pleaser, they like to call it, right? You know what it bought me? A fistful of toxic motherfuckers that, when the chips were down, decided that they were going to be pieces of shit to me. Because it was easier than being understanding, which I had done for them. I'm not going to talk about my meds here, Lauren. I hope you understand what meds I am and am not on. I found that it sucks to mention them because then people will bring them up constantly and ask me questions about them constantly, and people might take it as like an implicit, like, you should be on this type of medication. You've got to find out for yourself. No overstepping. I'm just, letting you know why I can't answer it or won't. I guess I could answer it, but it's not like I'm ashamed of what I'm on. It's just I've talked about my medications in the past, and it just doesn't lead to good places. That's how toxic people operate. They demand everything out of you and give nothing in return. Well, there are users in the world, and a lot of users don't know that they're users. One person in particular was the biggest fucking user that I've ever met in my entire life. Probably my closest friend, probably my best friend in the whole motherfucking planet. The dude that I was closest to on the whole fucking planet was the biggest motherfucking user that I've ever met in my entire fucking life. No, not TJ. I mean, fucking A, dude. I wouldn't be around TJ if he was anything like this. We're talking about people who I left behind when I got divorced and changed my life before TJ and I were even friends. It's a tough story to tell. I feel like it's my right to fucking tell it on one hand, but I feel like digging it up and being public about it on the other hand might cause problems. He has kids. He has a kid. And his kid doesn't deserve shit. And you know what I mean? I don't mean doesn't deserve anything. Doesn't deserve to get shit from people. I don't know. I'm very iffy about sharing personal shit like this. On one hand, I want to just tell the whole fucking story. Because it would be such a good fucking object lesson for people pleasers out there to maybe wake them up and teach them how to be a little fucking selfish in their lives. But on the other hand, I've shared the story before, then fuck it then. So being this far from it and trying to tell this story without judgment is hard for me. Because I still got a lot of anger wrapped up in it. But like I said, dude has moved on with his life. Dude has a kid. Dude has a life. I don't want any trouble for this guy. I don't want anybody fucking with him. I'm distant enough from this shit that it's not an open wound anymore. It's a scab on me now. That being said, to give you a general idea, guy got a divorce, one of my best friends. And he shows up at my house. I was married at the time. Shows up at my house, distraught. Doesn't know what to do, doesn't know where to go. And I told him, look, in the interim, while shit's fucking being worked out, why don't you stay here? Just, pay us a little token sum every month or whatever. Don't worry about it. So you can have a place to be safe and shit and be away from all that shit if you want. You can use the pool. You can fucking have the whole back side of the house, basically. Dude takes me up on it. I wouldn't have offered if I didn't mean it. Dude stayed for 6 years. This is my fault, not his. But that's what a people pleaser will do to you. Being a people pleaser will do to you. Dude set up shop in the house, which was fine. We had invited him to do so. Had a couple of flings and then got back with his ex, got her pregnant while still living in my house. They decided that they were going to have the kid but not stay together or not be together. So he decides to have a kid while living in the house. It was 6 years. Right? 6 years of that. Now, when I got a divorce, when I left, this dude who I had been open to despite his divorce. Like, see, for me, I don't judge people on that shit. I know human relationships are messy, complicated, nasty things sometimes, and I don't look at a fucking divorce and see an opportunity to judge one person or another in that fucking situation. You know what I mean? So he goes through the hardest point in his life and lives with me for 6 years. I reach the hardest point in my life and he tells me to go fuck myself. Those were his literal last words to me, were go fuck yourself, via text. The moral of the story is this. Don't be a fucking people pleaser to the exclusion of everything else, because it will get you nowhere and nothing. If you don't stand up for yourself in this fucking life, if you don't draw a line in the fucking sand, people will literally use you like a doormat. Yes, he was employed throughout the time. He paid a token amount of rent at the place. Why did he say that? When I left my marriage, I had already kind of started talking to my ex, Ashley. I don't like to think of myself as a cheater, but copping feelings for somebody else was the impetus to get my ass to finally make the decision that I'd made months before, which was this marriage is over. Now, I had no idea if Ashley and I at that time were going to work out, long-term, short-term, whatever. But the appearance to people not in the know was that everything was going fine with me and my ex-wife, and then Paul just up and left town to go fuck some 18-year-old in Texas. Like, that was the story. Now, Ashley was 22 when we got together, but that didn't matter. She was like, that was one of the things that my dad said to me, was that I was fucking a teenager or something. I was like, what? She's fucking 22. But that was the narrative, because look, like, and you got to understand, when you leave a marriage, you're always going to be the bad guy. Like, you're always, 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 and forever going to be the bad guy. You have to understand that in a lot of people's eyes. But it's the narrative, you know what I mean? I didn't do anything to counter it, because I figured that the people that knew me would know that there was other things fucking going on. I figured that the people that knew me would know that I didn't just, like, decide one day to, like, well, let me just throw away this fucking long-term relationship and go bang somebody in Texas. Yeehaw, you know, like, I figured the people that knew me would know, but a lot of them didn't. Lol, yeehaw. My ex and I were together for, fuck, I'd have to do the math again. A long fucking time. Like 15 years. We weren't married for 15 years, but we were together for 15 years. So people think that I wadded up a 15-year relationship and threw it in the trash because I just met some, you know what I mean? That's the narrative. And that was the narrative that got passed around most of my friends. And that is what I believe that most of my friends still believe to this day. because so very few of them called me to talk about it, to ask me what was going on or anything. You mentioned once that your favorite silent film was The Golem. Yeah. Can you talk about it a little? I'd rather you just go watch it. The Golem is uh, rife with like negative portrayals of the Jews, but it has a very spooky, kind of countenance to it. It's about a like a Jewish magician who is wronged by the lord of a town, and he creates this golem to go and start taking revenge for him. It's a very interesting story, and it's shot very beautifully. And I just recommend you watch it. I mean, it's not super long. I think it's under an hour long. So, but anyway, that's a little aside there. I know we're talking about other things today. The story was originally a Jewish folklore, yes. It says an hour and 45 minutes on YouTube. Maybe it is a longer one. Well, sit down and strap in and watch it then. It's been a long time since I've seen the Golem. There's probably a bunch of different cuts of the Golem, to be honest with you. A lot of these older movies have multiple cuts. Don't go around the world who won't go around the block for you. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I mean that really is the moral of the story. I don't want to go on and on and on about it because there's really no need. But that's a big lesson in my life. I spent a lot of my life as a people pleaser, and it really bought me nothing in the end. So let that be an anecdotal example in your life. There's nothing wrong with being nice to people and kind to people. I am both of those things. I'm kind to people. I will listen. I'm there for my friends as I can be. But I take care of mine and my own first. Sorry. I learned that lesson. Can't understand when no one even asked for your side of the story. Wait till something like that happens to you in your life. I'm kicking my roommate on the first because she's toxic. What a coincidence with this being talked about. Yeah, see? Oh yeah, dude. You can't be everybody's fucking therapist, and you can't expect other people to be yours. It's just one of those fucking things, man. It's like saying you're being everybody's therapist is probably overstating things. But I was in the same fucking position. I was the dude that you could always bend my ear. And I was always going to listen to you and hear you out. And I wasn't going to come at you judgmental. And I was going to give it to you straight and tell you what I thought and help you if I could. Like, I was that guy. And that's really genuinely what I thought I was putting out into the world. Paul's a good guy. He's a reliable guy. He's a good friend. That's what I wanted to be seen as. And you know what? You know what I was putting out into the world, really? Come get some. Come take it. Come use me. Everything over here. That's what I was putting out. And unfortunately, there are a significant chunk of the world that are classified as users and abusers. People that will just take and take and take and take forever. No matter what. I mean, besides the feeling of being betrayed, how was the experience? Like, Was he hard to live with? Just curious. I'm not going to go into all that. Like, I've very selectively been, you know what I mean? I told the story as charitably as I could tell it. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to go into detail after detail after detail. I had a lot of friends in high school. Became agoraphobic my sophomore year. Only 3 of them ever responded to text or anything. One of them is still in my life. One of my closest. Yeah. Well, you're lucky. Dude, I had that recently with the COVID vaccine. My group of friends and I agreed that as soon as we found out how to get the vaccine in a legit way, we'd tell everyone, yeah. And you did, but this person had gotten their second shot and never told anyone. I mean, yeah, that's just, you know what I mean? People don't give, like, that's just the way it is, guys. I hate to be negative about it, but that is honestly just the way things are. People will use you up until you got nothing, if you'll let them. Can't tell if I get used or I'm the user. At least you're honest about it, Brianna. I mean, I don't know. I mean, users can get used, you know. I don't even really think it's greed. I think it's like, it was explained to me in therapy as a, I'm trying to remember how my therapist put it, like a regression. He said that people that are users never left the nest, even when they did. And I didn't understand that at first. I was like, how can you simultaneously be, it's like a Schrodinger's cat. Like, how are you in the nest and not in the nest? And he says, well, a lot of people never settle into full autonomous adulthood. And they're so reliant on the family structure of support that they seek it out wherever they go, and they end up being users. They end up being people who are unwilling to take the step, which is, I can understandably scary step of being out on your own, having your ass hanging out in the wind and no net. I've been there multiple fucking times in my life, and I'm telling you, it's scary shit, but like, that's what it takes to be an adult. And people who are unwilling or unable for whatever reason to make that step become users. And sometimes these people can have their own lives. They can have their own apartments. They can look autonomous on the face of it, but they're not. Is it wrong, though, to be dependent? Who can honestly say they're not reliant on anybody? If you think that's the message that I'm giving you now, then I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like, I never said it was wrong to be dependent. I'm telling you, keep your circle small. I'm telling you, be aware that these people exist. And know what you're putting out when you put out these kind of like, hey, I'm open for anything, I'm down for anything type of fucking vibes. Because those types of vibes that you could put out that you might think you're putting out because, hey, I'm being a good person. I've got a big heart. I want to let people know that they have a place in it. They can come to me if they need me. They can ask me for help. They can ask me for money. They can ask me for this. They can ask me for that. You know what I mean? If you're putting that vibe out, there are a lot of people out there who don't receive that vibe as like, wow, Paul's a great guy. They receive that vibe as like, wow, Paul's a great guy. If you see the difference between the way those 2 lines were delivered, you'll understand what I'm saying. That was the biggest fucking thing that I learned in therapy. The most important thing, in my opinion, that I learned in therapy was to take responsibility for myself and myself alone, and to drop other people's expectations off my radar completely and start chasing my own expectations for myself. That was the biggest fucking breakthrough that I ever had in my fucking life. If it were free, would you still go to therapy? I don't go to, like, it's not a money barrier. I have health insurance and I could probably go to therapy if I wanted to. I don't go to therapy because my therapy had a very, very, I can't, it's one of those stories that I wish I could tell you fucking guys, but it really is not my story to tell. Like the whole story. Suffice it to say that my therapy ended very tragically and horribly. And I found out that the person that I had invested all of this belief in, who I had basically placed on a pedestal in my life as this kind of wisdom factory for 4 years, was exactly what he was warning me about in other people: a user and an abuser. And so for me, the whole process is tainted by that. I've really had to spend the last like 5 years of my life untangling the shit that he told me that was bullshit from the shit that was genuine, that genuinely helped me. And trying to fucking make sense of that is ridiculous. I don't even know how to even start with therapy again. And Ingrid, you don't even know. One of the worst experiences that you could possibly fucking experience. Like just an absolute, complete and utter mind fuck. A complete, you don't even understand. And see, a lot of this is my fault because I, once again, was unwilling to keep my own counsel. And I put so much of my intention and expectation onto this man who had taken me as a grown man by the hand and showed me how to be an adult in a way that my father never did. My mother couldn't. Showed me how to be a man. You know what I mean? And didn't do it forcibly, didn't grab me by the scruff of my neck. He showed me how to do it by helping me to understand myself. I've told part of the story, but trust me, I have not told the entire story. A sad fact about life is that you're always on your own. You can't depend on anybody but yourself. I don't think it's all that sad. He was a father you deserved but never got. Well, he wasn't. In the end, he was a complete and utter manipulative, abusive, horrible person. And to have somebody that you held in the esteem that I held this man in fall from grace that hard and then take the easy way out. I'd gone to this man suicidal. When I started to see him, I was on the edge of walking out of my own life. He brought me back from the brink of that and then went out that way. I'm talking about the therapist. What a ridiculously over the top, emotion filled ideology this has been. Let's just not. Drill into Paul's psyche. We need to go deeper. Yeah, I think that people should seek out therapy if they feel like they need it. I don't try and warn people away from it and shit because that's, you know what? That would be like for me, that would be allowing the man that betrayed me and everybody else in his fucking life to do damage in other people's lives. And it's not worth that. My personal issues with talk therapy notwithstanding, not knowing if I can ever hit that couch again, notwithstanding, I don't warn people away from it. If you feel like you need to talk to somebody, talk to somebody. We're your therapist now. Not really. Do your ideologies ever feel like therapy? No. Nope, nope, nope. To quote Tony Soprano, this therapy shit feels like what does he say? Therapy feels like taking a shit. Sometimes coming here feels like taking a shit. And then Melfi says, I don't know. I like to liken it more to childbirth. And he's like, no, it's definitely taking a shit. No. Therapy is very different. I'll be honest with you, it can be tough sharing things about yourself with people, but that is not therapy. Me sitting and talking about what I'm willing to talk about from my past and my own personal struggles and shit is not therapy. How's it feel talking to chat? I don't know. It was weird the first couple of times that I did it, but I've done it so many times now that it's fine. Paul Pink Eye? I got no pink eye. Leave me alone. I'm stoned. Old pink eye, Paul. Oh, kiss my ass, man. I ain't got no pink eye. Paul Pink Eye Parky. Paul Pink Eye Parky. I wiped a little doo-doo in my eye, and now I've got pink eye and a sty. You ever had a sty? Oh my God, bro. Sty. I had a sty in my 20s, man. That shit was fucking horrible. Pink eye is what it is, dude. Pink eye is pretty easily treatable. It's just super duper fucking like spreadable. So you have to like, you know, just kind of stay in your room and use your drops. Pink eye, I've had it a couple of times. Trust me. If you work in fucking public education for a number of years, you're going to get pink eye a couple of times. It's just guaranteed. Like, it used to happen all the fucking time. I got it twice while I worked at the fucking school district. I think pretty much everybody in the school district that I worked with had had pink eye at least once. Old poopy eye Parky. A sty is like a boil on your eyelid, like right on the rim of your eyelid. I don't really know what it is. I don't know if it's like a virus or if it's like an infected fucking eyelash hair or whatever the fuck it is. I really don't know, but it makes your whole fucking eye swell up. It's super painful. It's a virus, yeah. See, people are saying it's a virus, and then look, clogged pore in your eyelash. This is what I'm talking about. Hurts to blink, yeah. So you end up just like leaving your eye closed. Horrible. And inflammation on your eyelid. Right. It's like a pimple on your eyelid. It's horrible. Dr. Chat, yeah, I know. Good old Dr. Chat strikes again. A sty is a gland infection. Paul single-handedly starts a flame war, yeah. I had one of them's. But I'm telling you, man, nothing beats the fucking pilonidal cyst. I know I've talked about it a lot, but that is the straight up craziest, grossest shit that I've ever had happen to me in my life. And probably the most dangerous shit that I've ever had happen to me in my life. Well, maybe not the most dangerous. I think, dude, you guys remember I did a fucking Highdeology. I wish I could find it, where I went through all the times I almost died in my life. You guys remember that shit? The pilonidal cyst sounds like a wrestling finisher. Yeah. I wish I could remember which Highdeology that was. Like 2 car wrecks, the cyst, carjacking. There's a bunch more. I had my gallbladder removed because it was about to explode because I had gallstones. If I had waited another hour or two to go to the emergency room, I could have died from septic shock. 2 suicide attempts. Fucking ridiculous shit. My life has been a pretty crazy life, I gotta say. And it has produced a crazy person. You got kidnapped. I know. I know. I mean, me fainting is a panic attack thing. So, or is at least related to my panic disorder. I have what's called vasovagal syncope, and it's oftentimes related to my panic attacks. Are the panic attacks random? So here's a fucked up thing. I've only, like, within the last 2 to 3 years of my life, really started to identify my panic attacks for what they are, because I was never properly diagnosed as a kid. Even though there was every fucking option. So I'll tell you the history of my panic. When I hit puberty is when my mental illnesses really kicked into gear. And depression was the big thing on everybody's lips in the 90s. And I would have been, it would have been 91, 92 when I started to really get depressed. And so that was what I was treated for. What I was experiencing was panic attacks. Not necessarily not depression. I do have depression as well. But what was really bothering me and causing and feeding a lot of the depression that I was having was a panic disorder that went undiagnosed for most of my life. It takes the form. So panic attacks can often feel like heart attacks. And that's how my panic attacks are. This first started happening to me when I was 13 years old. I would have these panic attacks and get chest pains and get short of breath. And so they put me on like a Holter monitor at 13. My heart's fine. Every time I go to a heart doctor, my heart's fine. So these panic attacks take the form of this feeling of either impending medical crisis or heart attack or whatever the fuck, more often than not. It took me a long time to realize that they weren't random. They have very specific triggers. Like, to give you guys an example that's a really good object lesson, if you go watch The History of Going Insane, right? That episode is filled with a lot of really graphic depictions of human degradation and horrible, woe-begotten exploratory surgeries and shit that were done to people. And I cannot immerse myself in that type of shit. It brings those fucking feelings on. And so I was now there are twin triggers for my panic attacks as well. I was going through a very rough time in my life. I had recently gone through a breakup that was a big kind of upheaval in my life. Recently started a new relationship. I was unmedicated at the time completely. And I had a full-blown panic attack while recording a show. Stood up to walk it off and just... So, you know what I mean? Deli meats trigger your panic attacks. Wow. Are you Tony Soprano undercover? First time I had a panic attack, I was presenting in a meeting. I didn't know what the fuck was happening. I just had to walk off, yeah. How's Chippy? Still chippy. See him? Still chipped as fuck. You bought some green crack today? Hey, good for you, bud. Yeah, I'm fine. I chipped my tooth like a year and a half ago, bro. It's fine. Team Blue Dream, huh? Yeah. I'm gonna have a little bit more of this sugar tarts and then consider moving on my merry way when I've dusted that bowl, because I've got some stuff to do before the show today. Yeah. It is Flash Friday, my least favorite day of the week, but it's also hump day. Paul's tooth got whipped by Biden's chain. It's true. It's true. Sugar tarts. Sugar tarts. Tasty. Afternoon, Captain. How be ye spoils this voyage? Be cool if the Patreon episodes were entitled Deep Fat Friday. Oh, yeah, dude. We could have Marshall change the song slightly. Deep Fat Friday, dum dum da 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 da. Deep Fat Friday, da 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 da. A nice smoke sesh with Paul before I go to work. Do you know any sea shanties? I remember one that I learned back in school in choir when I was a youngster. I was in 4th grade choir. And I remember a little bit of a sea shanty that we learned called Heave Ho or Heave Me Lads or something. It was like, it doesn't really sound very piratey, but it's a sea shanty. One of the verses goes, little powder monkey Jim handing up the powder from the magazine below when he got struck by a ball that laid him so low. Heave ho, on we go. Heave me lads, heave ho. So powder monkeys were the little like fucking teenage boys on the ship that would go down below to get the fucking shot and the stuff. And he was handing up some powder from the magazine below, and then a ball from one of the other opposing ships came through and killed him. Little powder monkey Jim, poor him. I asked this before, but please do a DFF on Great Depression. DFF on biggest miscastings in movies would also be great. Love you guys, DFF for life. We'll see what happens, bud. We'll see what happens. Thanks for the $5. The longest Johns. I like it. I like it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Thanks for chilling.